We're recording.
There we go. Good catch. Thank you. Continue. As a preliminary matter, this is Brian Sullivan, Chair of the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brooke Moore?
I am here.
Penny Dye?
Apparently I'm here too.
Christy Ferrantella?
Here.
Rima Sherry?
Here.
And Allison Mitchell?
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond affirmative. Tucker Holland?
Here.
Embo Graham?
Present.
Eleanor Antonetti?
Existentially and virtually here.
This open meeting of the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. Do I still say that?
Yes.
Yes.
Up until the 15th.
Until the 15th, thank you. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. For this meeting, the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda, unless I, the chair, note otherwise. We'll turn to the first item on the agenda for this public meeting, but before we do so, please permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down a line of members and registered participants, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly. For any response, please wait till the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged and speak through the chair. And with that, we'll move over to the agenda. Let's see. Tucker?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Before you approve the agenda, we actually have a change in today's agenda. We have an unexpected item. And I will try to articulate the unexpected item, but I'm going to ask for some assistance. Oh, and here it is.
So to describe for those who are watching, Eleanor has just been delivered a card and...
I have an invasive species.
and an invasive species in a plant.
You're welcome. We're gonna miss you. Hug. Virtual hug.
Thank you. I can't kill this.
Tucker, do you want to describe in greater detail?
Well,
can you see?
This is a very small token of appreciation from your friends assembled here and Dave Iverson. And I want to say organized by Penny and Brooke with special help from Kathy. And we can't thank you enough, Eleanor, and we can't wish you any better for your next assignment. So thank you.
Thank you very much for all of these wonderful tokens of your gratitude, which I appreciate massively. And again, I'm only going to be a stone's throw away. Even closer for some of you. So I've actually signed my life away thanks to Tucker's ingenuity. So you have me for life in some capacity.
Nice work, Tucker. I'm not sure what you did, but well played. Just don't let her go.
It's all right here.
Eleanor, thank you very much in all seriousness for everything up to this point and continued success as you move forward.
It's truly been an honor, and maybe someday I'll join the board.
That would be excellent.
There's nobody worth replacing, though. You guys are all amazing, so I hope nobody leaves. Maybe you just have
nothing's forever.
Annie, don't say that. That's ominous. Look at her. She's disappearing on the video screen.
As we're talking.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Moved by Penny and seconded by, was that Brooke?
Yep.
By roll call, Rima Sherry?
Aye.
Allison Mitchell?
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella?
Aye.
Brooke Moore?
Aye.
And Penny Dye?
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye. The next item is an approval of minutes. We have our regular meeting of May 18th and then an approval of minutes submitted by the Finance Committee for March 8th. Just as a clarification, Eleanor, we're approving the Finance Committee members because we called a meeting within their meeting?
Correct. And since they have perfectly good minutes, I don't see it, and I was not present for the entire meeting. I was on medical leave. Actually, I wasn't on medical, was I? No, but I wasn't able to attend, or I forget what. But in any case, I think that their minutes suffice largely.
Great.
Personally.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, look for a motion to approve.
Wait, what are you approving? The May 18th? Or because the first thing on the agenda is the May 18th, right?
Okay, we'll do one at a time. I was going to take them in together, but let's do May 18th.
I was going to make a motion to approve them together, if that's okay.
I'd rather have them separate because some of you, I don't know exactly who was present at the Finance Committee meeting, so I prefer that be. Well, then and also they weren't submitted by me, so I want them, if you don't mind.
I'll make a motion for the May 18th, 2021 approval of those minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And a second from Christy by roll call, Rima Sherry.
Aye.
Allison Mitchell.
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella.
Aye.
Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
Brian Sullivan is an aye. Rima, I'll look to you for a second, for a motion on the second item.
Yeah, I move to approve the March 8th minutes submitted by the Finance Committee.
I'll second that. Second.
Second from Brooke by roll call, Rima Sherry.
Aye.
Allison Mitchell.
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella.
Aye.
Brooke Moore.
Aye.
And Penny Dye.
Aye.
Finally, Brian Sullivan's an aye. Item number 4, we've got a spot held here for review of the draft HPP while we wait for the response to the work group last week. Does anybody have any comments or questions or anything they want to add in, or shall we continue this item?
Yeah, we're waiting on the revisions from Judy. Yeah.
So seeing no comments today, will I continue this item on?
Do we need to vote to continue it, or can it just be done administratively?
I think administratively is fine. Is that correct, Eleanor? I'm getting a head shake, yes. So to closing cost assistance, review of program parameters and potential revisions. Tucker, were you wanted to make these edits? This has kind of been an ongoing carried item. Do we have the draft of the revisions to approve that?
Well, this was intended to be more of a conversation, but as we all know, with the steel closing cost item that was brought to our attention by Julie Fitzgerald, they had done an original closing, as folks will remember, on the acquisition of their land, and then they only used a small portion of the closing cost assistance for that, and then came back to us for the to see if they could utilize the balance or a good portion of it toward the actual closing on the construction loan. And I think you all will recall that was approved, and it really didn't require us to do anything outside of our lane, so to speak, in that all of the closing costs that were approved in the case of the land acquisition and then in the case of the construction loan were items that were included on the closing cost, or excuse me, the estimated closing costs from the bank, which is basically the determiner of what is eligible and not eligible. So, so while it came in two parts, because of the nature of the transaction, it didn't require us to change any definitions about what is an applicable closing costs or not. And I think the board will recall that, you know, this program is really designed to utilize the processes of the rigorous processes of existing institutions, so that, you know, if someone meets the income and asset requirements of DHCD, you know, who would be looking at a 80% home, for example, you know, we're not going to supplant our own judgment about whether they meet that criteria or not. Similarly with, you know, the bank, if the bank, a bona fide lending institution has deemed them suitable for underwriting, you know, we're not going to go through our own underwriting process. We're not equipped to do that. We don't have the time nor expertise. So the program was originally designed to leverage, you know, work is already taking place by qualified institutions and relatively streamline the process on our end. And so the question came up a few months ago, are there other things that we would want to have included in closing costs, which might not otherwise go onto a qualified lending and institution's statement of closing costs? And that really was the purpose of the discussion today. So that's where we are. There isn't necessarily a recommendation to change anything, but it was a topic that came up.
For this recording, can you refresh, forgive me, Julie Fitzgerald's recommendations on items that were additional potential costs to be considered?
I can pull up those minutes. What meeting was that?
It was originally brought up, I want to say last January, February. I can't remember the exact meeting date offhand.
Well, I wasn't here for the meeting, but I did the minutes because I listened to them. Was it April 1st? Let me see. I feel like she was present.
Eleanor, while you look for those, I'm going to turn to Brooke. She has some comments.
So by my recollection, that can be confirmed by the minutes, Julie talked about things like surveyors, septic design, putting a well in on land, those kind of things. And my feeling is closing cost assistance is closing cost assistance, right? It's really defined by the lender. If there's other support we want to give to the creation of covenant homes, or other deed restricted homes, it seems to me this is sort of like somewhere between a closing cost assistance program where it's a it's a not repaid right away, and our covenant lot program, covenant formation assistance program, CFAP, which is about putting together a property to prepare it to become an affordable housing property. And, you know, that program was designed with a seller in mind, right? Someone who is looking to create a covenant lot and do the work themselves and then repay the trust when the lot sells. But it seems as though there's a middle ground where someone can buy a covenant lot, right? And then have all of this other work that's not really, it almost feels like another program to me than an expansion of CCAP, because I think we might want to look at it differently, maybe impute an interest cost if it's not going to be paid until the property's sold. And that it's, I don't know, just something different so that these extensive upfront costs for getting a new covenant lot ready for construction, we help a buyer be able to do that. It's almost like a mini construction loan in some ways.
Thank you, Brooke. I'm going to come to Penny and then to Rima.
Yeah, my recollection is when Julie first raised this with us, it was an issue of parity because somebody is buying vacant land and it's a two-step process with the financing. The lender finances the purchase of the vacant land, and then there's a subsequent another financing where they use the land as the equity to provide a construction loan. Her point was those funds should be able to be used for the closing costs for both of those processes, even if they don't occur at the same time. That's my recollection of what this was about.
That's what we did with Steele, and we clarified that, you know, we can. There's nothing that prevents us from doing a two-stage thing just like that.
So it's
that's not the question. It was the redundancy of fees. If I may, through you, Mr. Chair, to piggyback on what Penny was saying, I'm looking at the minutes from March 16th. So Julie's talking about the redundant charges she sees in cases with both the land closing and then the construction loan closing.
Right.
And then, Brian, you said maybe we can look to other sources to waive secondary fees. Julie said you need to look at whether you want to expand your definition of what is allowable. There are additional repetitive fees for secondary loans not captured in lenders' loan estimates. There are restrictions. And she goes on to say, it might make sense to cap things like survey fees. You want to keep it simple. Penny, you said it would be helpful to have a list of anything that is pending that could be impacted by this. You know, like what would be a reasonable cap on other fees if we do add these? So kind of had to.
Well, I thought it needed to be defined, and of course, obviously not to exceed the 15,000 in the aggregate.
Right.
Rima.
Well, you know, in a construction loan, I think that people are allowed to use that for infrastructure and stuff like, you know, the well and septic, but that's beyond the scope of the closing cost fees. I mean, you know, what in the closing cost fees did Julie feel were redundant? I mean, if it's, you know, a land bank fee or a hookup, you know, something that is a town policy that needs to be changed, then, you know, we can go about looking into that. But otherwise, you know, I think that just saying that we can do the loans in the program in two parts, if there's going to be a land loan initially, that then and then there's a construction loan that turns into the regular mortgage. You know, that's, if there's stuff on there that's redundant, I don't really think that we can do that much about it other than make recommendations if they're town fees. And
okay. Thank you, Rima. Go ahead, Tucker.
Yeah, so I think we're talking about three different things here. I mean, I'd tend to agree with Brooke and Rima that, you know, if we're talking about some new items that haven't historically been that a bank wouldn't be consider as part of closing costs, then that may be a new program that we want to consider. It may be but Julie brought up, hey, I've got these clients, they want to be able to utilize this program to the maximum extent allowable. And in their case, it happens to be that it takes 2 transactions to do that. And we said, that's fine. Like, it still is within the intent of the program. And the fact that it happens in 2 transactions versus 1 by nature of what they're doing, no problem with, like, we've established that precedent. The second part, I guess, is she's saying, well, maybe you want to impose a limit on, how much legal, how much legal fees can be part of this, or surveying fees, or whatever other typically bank approved closing cost aspect can be there. And that, that's that's something that we can, I suppose we can impose a limit if we want to do, or that we could maybe reach out to the legal and other communities to say, hey, we have this program and we just want to see this money go as far as possible for our clients, especially in the case of construction situations. So again, to me, that's a separate discussion, may well be worth having, but she's talking about, in that case, imposing a limit on things that are already customary approved closing costs. So it's sort of 3 subjects there.
So
go ahead, Brock. I see you, Penny. Come back to you next. Go ahead, Brock.
So I'm not sure, Tucker, the way you described that, it almost sounds like maybe it feels like because they're covered that legal fees are maybe too much. I don't know. Maybe a limit says to lawyers, you can't maximize your fees here because it's 2 closings or whatever. I'm not sure what the intent of that discussion, but it seems to me that if the family taking advantage of this program it has to pay a lawyer twice, they have to pay a lawyer twice. It's part of the process of creating a covenant home, and that's the intention of the program. So now, whether there's some motivation to encourage lawyers to have restraint in how much they charge in these situations, that's another conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I presume that's the redundancy that Julie is talking about. That you're kind of there are double fees in certain categories. Maybe not straight line double, but you're getting charged twice for legal services. But as you say, that's the nature of the beast. The fact that there are 2 closings doesn't change that there's work to do associated with each of them. But you can
look at pages 30 and 32 sort of break down. The second 32 is a construction loan, which is the larger, and page 30 is the second page of the vacant land loan, just to give you an idea.
Penny had some comments?
Yeah, just quickly, do we have 2 things? I feel like we're conflating 2 or maybe 3 different issues. And secondarily, do we have a list of approved closing costs somewhere? If we don't, we should. Thank you.
So again, on the application, I think it talks about I don't know if you have that there, Eleanor, but it talks about
in the packet.
Yeah, that's what she was just saying. It's page 23 of the packet. So on I think it's page 24. My one question is the qualified, the conditional letter of approval is valid for 6 months. Does that, that's at the end of the first paragraph. And as far as timeline and keeping the second opportunity open, if it's notified that it's a land with a subsequent construction cost, does that need to be identified or extended for a period of time?
Perhaps,
Brooke?
Perhaps just adding 6 months for the purchase of a developed property and 8 months for the acquisition of land and a construction loan or something like that.
So that could be close. My recommendation would be a little bit longer. Often we see these as modulars. And so the construction loan often doesn't pay until the modulars are delivered. And with the shutdown of June through September deliveries, that timing could get tricky.
10 to 12 maybe.
That would be my only, yeah, I'd go a year. That would be my only comment, is making sure that we're covering timing to keep the approval open. To the previous comments that were made, I'm in agreement that some of the expenses, while are necessary for individual deals, they may not carry across all deals, where closing costs are for all deals, meaning some properties that need wells versus some that need town water. I think they're all, there's variations. If we keep a standard across fees that are the same for all deals, referred to as closing costs, it makes sense. The redundancy is a tough conversation, but maybe that's just as much as we sending a letter to lawyers that we regularly practice with, that we encourage them to be as fastidious with their billing as they can be when closing cost assistance is used.
I do find it interesting that title insurance is listed on the construction loan, which seems ridiculous, because if they had title insurance on the land acquisition, that seems
reclosing that. Yeah, title insurance is the biggest variable expense on every deal, right?
It's just a joke. Sorry,
Penny.
Yeah, its title insurance is based on the total value.
So the premium gets paid up, is her point, Brooke, once you add the structure.
So it sounds like that we want to expand the time frame that you're approved for to allow for perhaps a double closing in the case of construction. We want to, in the page 1 of the program outline, it talks about funds are loaned up to $15,000 solely for closing costs based on a bona fide loan estimate from a recognized financial institution. That we might want to further elaborate the types of things that normally appear on a loan estimate under closing costs from a bona fide financial institution. And we also want to add in the 175. We didn't talk about that right there, and that's not really the basis of Julie's thing, but we want to add in the 175 income limits. Are there other things?
The guidelines do list up to 175 AMI.
Yeah, I put that in there. I updated it when you guys approved that, but as Tucker knows, the chart that I populated is needs to be verified. Those numbers, I did some research, I spent a lot of time, but I'm not confident in those numbers. So I want someone with greater expertise to double check that.
Thank you, Eleanor. So any more continued conversation, or Tucker has his marching orders? We're good? Great. With that, we'll close.
Do you want to make a motion to make or come back to it with sort of a sample draft of the newer document.
I think maybe make the edits, have the document, and then we can approve the document as written at the time. Does that make good sense? So we'll continue on to item, what was that? That was 5, so we're on 6. Communication Subcommittee report.
All right,
Allison.
everyone. Let's see how I do. I think I can share my screen. I've never shared a screen before, so let's see how we do here. All right. Oh, hold on. This might take me a minute. Well, while I'm doing this, I will let you know. So I spent the weekend working on. Oh wait, hold on.
The baby's room?
Yeah, no, my house is so small, there is no baby's room.
Been there.
Oh shoot, this might be quitting Zoom. It's telling me I might have to quit Zoom though.
That third kid gets such
Hold
drags.
Let's see if I can do
I
this.
am a
Yeah,
third
exactly.
drag
All right. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Perfect. Ooh, hold shift. I'm learning something new and you're all watching me do this. Okay, great. Awesome. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Love it. Okay. So we worked on the document for to hand out at town meeting for this weekend. We together, the communication subcommittee, we put together a lot of the content, and then I just kind of put it into something pretty, or hopefully pretty. So ultimately it's going to be printed on 11 by 17 paper. And the folds, you know, are a little challenging to see in this world we're living in right now. But this front page here with the big logo, it says Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust. This will be the front page of the document. Essentially, the 11 by 17 will be folded in half. So it'll be 4 pages. So obviously it's clear what this is. It's basically explaining how, you know, we've spent the money to date and essentially what is still needed. And with a few notes on the bottom, just to clarify that, you know, some of these amounts spent do have, you know, notes tied to them and will be paid back to the trust over time. Just little things that we've all talked about, but it would be nice, obviously, for people reading this to know. I already caught a little typo myself there, but I think, unless Tucker and Eleanor, you say absolutely not, I'm happy. I have time after the meeting and into tonight and whatnot to continue to work on edits, because I know this is the first time some of you are seeing this. But you'll have to let me know what can and cannot be, you know, approved later and whatnot. Sully?
Allie, on the 31 Fairgrounds, I'm curious on other people's opinion if it could be read in a manner, the price for the land and then the price for the construction with the asterisk that then leads down to the 6,750 is a note.
Sure.
So you can see how it's broken apart.
Yeah. That's easy for me. For sure. I have my little notes that I'm taking right here.
Because I think over time, that's a valuable, like it's clearly stated 6,750 will be paid back. And
right.
Because that's a revolving, I think that's clearly stated, but it's in reading the line item at, what was it? 3 million, then 6,750.
Yes.
Four, and then.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Brian, should that apply to UMass also, or no?
Or also maybe Richmond, because Richmond has some sort of a note to pay back. UMass.
Not at the moment. No, not at the moment for UMass, right? Like there's.
Well, the demolition's in there.
That's a straight line expenditure.
Well, I'm not saying that we should. I'm just thinking out loud a little bit. But you know, there's obviously a recorded purchase price for UMass, the property. So
yeah, I understand. So yes, I understand what you're saying in breaking it down. I was thinking about the loan aspect. I would agree with that.
Okay.
And demo versus
so it's 2.6 for the land, and 500 is a placeholder for the demo.
Right. Okay.
And versus demo, I might do site work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Okay, cool. That's easy. Awesome.
I'm sorry.
On the amount still needed, I would put anticipated, just the way that costs are so out of control these days with.
Correct. I like that. Okay, cool.
Definitely agree with that. And so with Richmond, did we want to break down the loan versus grant portion?
Yeah.
Break it out. Yeah, it's nice. It makes it clear.
I think it's really important to isolate those as loans, because it's a very creative way to cycle the funding back to the trust in the future.
Agreed. All right, perfect. And so I'm actually going to flip. So that's essentially page 1, and then page 2 and 3. Yeah. So this will be the inside of the document, or the funding articles. And you can see my fun little graphics where FinCom said yay or nay. Again, read through, let me know. Do I need to zoom out? Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit.
Allie, could you send these to me? It's sort of,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
I think it's important, if you're going to put the FinCom check or cross, that you put the trust.
Oh, yeah.
So, whether it's
true.
So trust, check. Yep. Or if you want to put 5032, how the trust supported the various articles, because they're not all.
You're totally right.
Town articles.
Okay. Okay. And I'm going to add trust votes. Perfect. And I'll do that, and it'll be kind of up at the top with the FinCom as well. I think that's great. Perfect.
I might even say that that's as important, if not more important, than the FinCom.
I agree.
Since we're producing the piece.
I agree.
Yeah, Allie, maybe move the FinCom ones to the right of the article title and have the trust ones on the left.
On the left.
So you see them first.
Perfect. Easy. I can do that. Awesome. Yeah, take a look. Let me know if you need me to move the screen or zoom in or out or anything.
Is there, does the communication committee have any plan to kind of circulate the information that some of the articles will be taken out of order at the beginning of the meeting?
That's good.
But there's nothing definite on that. That's Denise has said she is going to make that motion at the start of the meeting as a private citizen. And so that's subject to the town meeting people agreeing to that happening.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
It'll be another interesting conversation.
Yeah, exactly. As everyone looks through this, I can also, once it's finished, and it's gone to print at Poets, who said they have plenty of time to do it, which is great. I can also turn all of this into a PDF that's kind of flippable, like an online magazine would be. So if it's something that we want to also have available, to let the town share on their social media ahead of time, that might be nice too.
Thank you for the effort on this. This looks great.
Oh, of course.
Easy to read. It's very clear.
Perfect.
In view of the fact that this is going to be outdoor and very different, has there been any discussion with Florencia to see whether or not any of these things could be available on the town website relative to the materials available at town meeting, because of the fact that we're going to be outdoor and no screens indoors and everything, or anything like that?
We have not made that request. Typically requests of Florencia go through staff. So I'm going to throw it back in your Tucker's court.
Put it on the list, Tucker.
Ken knows Florencia.
Make a call. All right.
Yeah.
Just let me know when to move it, but sorry, Rebecca.
Florencia is awesome, really awesome, and very responsive. I deal with her for other stuff, and I always double check things, and if there's some problem, I had one recently, it wasn't her fault, it was weird. She fixes it. So she's fantastic. So I'm happy to contact her, but you need to send me your final product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You want it on, I'm sorry, Brooke, just to be sure, you want it, I would assume, on New and Noteworthy and like Twitter, Facebook, what's the other one? Snapchat.
Instagram, I mean, wherever you could put it, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, if we can have the videos, links to our videos on our website, I think if they're not there, they need to be there, you know, as well as the webinar. I think the webinar is up.
Yeah, it's right on the front page.
Yeah, but those personal stories, I think, also need to be there. And, you know, I've been sharing them and Brooke's been sharing them. And hopefully everyone has seen them and also had the time to watch the webinar if they didn't participate live.
Yeah, the webinar was so good, I thought.
I think it's powerful and it gets the message out, you know, why we exist.
So I just went back to the, you know, what will be the first and the last page. We'll look at the last page, but I wanted to mention, I put the website, you know, kind of right under the title here. It's not the, you know, most glorious website that we have. It's not like super easy or anything, but it's there. And then on the last page, and this can certainly change, it was just a quick idea. I did put a flow code on the bottom that will actually take you right to the Affordable Housing Trust website. But this space can also be used for something else. If we think the people using this document aren't flow code people, that can easily change. Originally, I'd had more information about the SHI list and kind of safe harbor in here, but it was a lot of text, so I thought I would make it a little less texty. But just jumping up here, this will be the last page or the back page. And, you know, again, it's everything that we kind of know, but it's taking that safe harbor, you know, timeline that we've worked on, and it's looked a few different ways to kind of just get us, you know, to say this is where we're at and this is where we're going. And there we go. Sally?
When I look at the front page and I see the 24 million needed, looking for another way to phrase that, right? Yeah. The number, when I think about the number needed, I think 400 million. And I have it right to make an impactful, like, secondary market in the year round, to work on affordable housing, which is, you know, as SHI qualified, the variety of different need. And I don't want to underestimate the need for a solution, right? So 24 million, if you look at this, it's interesting, right? So it's going to take $50 million just to get us to this many units in safe harbor through 2025. And that has no, there's no ownership component in that discussion. There's no secondary market in that discussion. There's no, there's a lot more. So I want to make sure that we don't understate the need in a bolded line like that. So whether it's for these programs or for SHI maintenance,
through a certain year or something.
Yeah. Because our need is more like a $400 to $500 million if we're really going to make a, you know, decade-long attack on housing that's affordable on Nantucket, not just affordable housing.
Yeah, And I can add a note, you know, or an additional box on the bottom. There's room to maybe make a statement like that. You know, I can say the 24 million needed for shy maintenance through this year, or whatever, you know, 2025 really. And then we can add another statement on the bottom that just says, you know, the anticipated cost for these programs would be closer to something.
Allison, and the heading, instead of amount still needed, how about current estimate of 2 years need or something like that, in a time frame? Okay, because again, we get the estimate that Sully wants because of the fact of where construction costs are going,
right,
and the fact that it's an estimate as opposed to and a time frame within which the estimate is applied to.
Yeah, I'll work on it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sully saying something?
Yes, Penny. Sorry, I can't see everybody.
Yeah. You know, there's another way to say it: projected need or estimated projection. But I'm a little concerned about throwing out such a $400 million number without more discussion about that and maybe a vote. I mean, maybe it's more than that. I don't know.
Oh, I wasn't.
Is this really the place to do that?
No, I don't know that this is the place to do that, and that wasn't my intent, Penny.
Oh,
my intent was more to identify that it's not only 24 million needed.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are, when we go in for this, and then some people start popping up and saying, well, how many units have you created so far that people are living in? Are we going to address that the same way we've been addressing that, which is to say this, and this is in the pipeline?
I think that's the only way we can address that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think we can, I mean, I think we can talk about the 50 families that have benefited from the closing cost assistance program.
Right.
And then I think we can talk about
That's good.
the things that are in the pipeline. But I mean, I would think most people understand, like, having gotten the money 2 years ago, and this is public money, not even, you know, that even if it were 100% private money, to have a substantial number of units completed within 2 years, like including permitting, not to mention the public
acquisition process.
The acquisition process, but also the original setting of the parameters by the Neighborhood First Advisory Committee. I mean, I think we're moving pretty rapidly.
Yeah, I understand all that, but there's going to be, I'm just saying the obvious, which is there's, you know, we gave you $25 million. Where are the units?
Well, this is where the units are going to be. And if you don't understand permitting and construction timelines on Nantucket, then we can have a longer conversation outside.
I'm afraid I bring it up only because I think it's going to devolve into, this was supposed to be, some people believe, I'm not one of them, that this was supposed to be for existing single family units. So we're going to have to, all I'm saying is we're going to have to be prepared to yet again explain this carefully to people.
Well, I agree with you, but I would just say that, I'm sorry, Brian, that, you know, you have, I mean, you know, Rick Atherton was standing up at a recent select board meeting, you know, like wanting to be associated with what we're doing at 31 Fairgrounds. Like, I mean, I think even people who
I can
maybe had a different vision for the original funds have realized that this our approach is actually quite sound.
Right.
Not only sound, but the fiscally responsible way to achieve the goal.
Yep.
So to that point, right, on this list, 98, if I'm looking at the list correctly, 98 of the units on the list that we're using that Neighborhood First money for or is a significantly higher figure than was originally anticipated, right?
So that's an excellent point.
Yeah, we were originally talking about at that town meeting 20 units, and we've turned 20 units into potentially 98 units.
Yep.
Through creative financing, long-term loans, as to your point, Penny, the fiscally responsible way to do this. The per unit cost we've done very, very well and not competed in the marketplace, driving up what is already exaggerated pricing.
And we just need to be able to explain that in simple terms.
There is, I'm going to grab one more screen share, and I'm sorry I can't mute while I'm sharing my screen, but hopefully school quiets down. This is, and again, this is something we'll kind of send along, but this is something that Brooke has used before, that just kind of is a nice little housing 101 for people who aren't quite clear on what it all means. Yep. And we talked about potentially, this isn't the final edit of it. It would look a lot more like what I've done before. But we talked about taking this content or some of it that seemed relevant to this handout and making a smaller print to put inside as well. That would basically include things a little bit like we're talking about right now, like a little bit of an addendum or a supplement to the facts for people who just might need a little more information. But I know doing, that and looking at all this content right now in this meeting, 4 days before town meeting, might be a little much. So, but the possibility does exist that if we had content that, again, was meant to really just supplement and explain a little bit more about what was going on in the actual facts of the folded document, we could do that, print that, and use it as an insert as well.
I think that has great value.
Yeah.
Myself. I really think we ought to seriously consider that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Will you send me that too, please, Allie?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I do think it's
Allie,
early.
Will you go back?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I had a comment on the other one.
Yeah. Sorry, Christine.
I think it's early to be putting any values on an equity sharing concept. I noticed that as you were scrolling.
Thank you. Yeah. And I was going to say, none of this, I'm a little nervous that I have this content that you guys haven't, totally all looked at yet, but nothing will go out that doesn't, make sense for everybody, I guess is the best way for me to put it. Sorry, Christy.
That's okay. I was going to add maybe in the, on the right side where we talk about the $25 million that we've used, maybe adding the asterisk that we've created 98 units and putting that kind of front and center. Mm-hmm. And then on the left-hand side where we talk about safe harbor, I'm wondering if we need an asterisk for 2021 into the future, that it's kind of pending approval and also pending funding. Like if we don't get these articles passed, this isn't going to be a reality for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to add that. Because some of them, some of them are. Yeah, sorry, Penny.
Sully?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Penny.
Sorry, just quickly. Is it possible that this could get emailed to all of us before it goes to the printer? Mm-hmm. I'm having trouble. I can't really edit on screen like this because I'm using now my telephone to be at this meeting.
Yes, I'm happy to, and I will just look to Tucker and Eleanor to tell me the best way to get this to you, or for Eleanor to get it to everyone. Or...
If you send it to me, Allie, then mm-hmm. I can send it to everyone on the board, and they can send their comment to me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. And Poets said as long as they have it by Thursday, they can have it printed and folded for Saturday. So outside of my day job, I am more than happy to work on edits at night. So feel free to send whatever you have once Tucker sends it out.
Sally, Rima.
Yes, Rima.
I think that this information answers a lot of questions for voters, and I think it's really well done and clear. And yeah, it may raise more questions, but the questions that I'm seeing in social media are, you know, how did they spend the money? Well, here, it's right there. You know, well, what are we going to do in the future? It's right there. And, you know, what are the housing articles? I think that this is a really helpful piece. And with the insert of Housing 101, you know, simplified and, you know, whatever we need to do to that, it turns into a really useful piece of information. And, you know, people are bored at town meeting. They want stuff to look at. And I think that they'll, you know, if we can get it in their hands, they'll look at it. So also, if anyone is willing to do a little, you know, physical handing out at the beginning, you know, when people are arriving, I've done that in the past. I really can't do it anymore because of, you know, physical constraints. I can't stand in one place for a long time, but, you know, if anyone is willing to volunteer to put things in people's hands, as soon as I would say affordable housing, you know, people that are going, no, I don't want another piece of paper, like, oh yeah, I'll take that. So, you know, just putting it out there.
I can, me and my pregnant belly can try to hand them out if you want. That's usually a good sell. Cool.
So one other thing to point out is, you know, it shows roughly 24 million in the needed column right now. About 14 of that, let's say, would be on the warrant for this year. Yeah. And so one thing, I mean, this is a more of a nuanced question, but, you know, in Article 10 is a bonding authorization to utilize a portion of the 1.6 million toward bonding up to 6.5 million. And so someone could ask, well, you know, why do you need both Article 10 and Article 24? So Article 24 is the $7.5 million debt exclusion that we have been saying that we would need most, and given the changes in construction pricing over the course of last year, all of, in order to provide subsidy for what we plan to do at Orange Street. We well may need, are likely to need most, if not all, of the additional 6.5 million in Article 10 in order to provide local subsidy to Six Fairgrounds, courtesy of the neighbor appeal and the change in construction costs during the course of their legal action. So, you know, that's 64 units that otherwise is ready to go, but there's now a big hole in financing. So if we want to move forward, we're likely going to need to provide local subsidy.
Cool. I'm going to stop sharing this just so I can mute myself because we're getting loud over here, if that's all right with everybody.
So I just want to say thank you, communications group, for putting that together. Brooke?
So, I mean, what Tucker just said really speaks to the longer we wait to solve this, the more expensive it gets. Mm-hmm. And that what I've been saying in the community is we don't lack for ideas on how to solve this. We have many tools that we can put in our toolbox if we have the funding to do it. And that what we're talking about here with the additional 24 million on top of the 25 is just our safe harbor to achieve, you know, our 10%. And that doesn't touch future programs or home ownership opportunities or another Sachem's Path or all of the other visions that the community has for solving this problem. And, you know, that is what speaking on town meeting floor is going to help communicate. And hopefully we can all do that and be persuasive as to the longer term funding options that are on the table this year.
Did communications want to cover anything else? No. Go ahead,
I would just ask that everybody here please share on social media the links to the videos that we created and the webinar. This is compelling storytelling. And as I've said all along, that I feel as though our communications job as a trust is threefold. It is to explain the need in a way that's compelling to people to take action, to explain what we've done and what we have planned and what we hope to do, and then to explain how it might be funded. And these things, these tools that we did in communications are really important for that first leg of this stool of communications, is helping the community members who, for whatever reason, know there's a problem and have as yet to be motivated to vote to take more daring action. And so I hope, you know, share it with your friends and ask them to share it. Send personal emails to folks in your contact list. Even if you don't take a position on any article, I think just encouraging people to come to town meeting and listen is a pretty neutral way to go about this. So.
Thank you, Brooke. Tucker?
Eleanor, should there be a vote here about like distributing this subject to the edits discussed today and a final input via email or not?
I mean, it is noticed on our agenda. You can always vote on something noticed on your agenda. I don't know, it's been more of a discussion item, but I don't think it's like a mandatory thing, but it's probably a safe bet to do that since you all are going to be contributing to subsequent edits to this.
I mean, I'm just wondering if, you know, if this is something that is going to be distributed to 500 or 800 voters, you probably want to have your voter stamp of approval on it.
I would agree with that.
Would someone like to undertake making a motion on this item to be distributed to 500 to 800 people at town meeting? Penny?
You don't have to say the number. 515, no more.
Right. I'd like to make a motion that we take the printed piece and the supplemental piece worked on by the communications subcommittee, and we approve having this printed and distributed at town meeting based on a final review, it can be done by email, of the members of our committee before Thursday.
Is there a second?
I will wholeheartedly second that motion.
That's from Brooke, and a vote by roll call. Rima Sherry.
Aye.
Allison Mitchell.
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella.
Aye.
Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye. Great. Thank you, Tucker. Thank you, group.
Thank you, Allie.
Yes, thanks to Allie. Yeah.
Yeah. Other business. June regular meeting. June 15th, 1 p.m.
And that'll be maybe in person, right, Tucker?
That's the last meeting that we can do virtually, and Erica's still she's got us teed up for starting in July for in-person meetings. And actually, thank you for that reminder, Eleanor, that in July, going forward, it is going to work better with all of the different meetings that Erica has to schedule. And you can imagine the sheer quantity after a year of COVID, that it will work better for her if we are able to conduct our meeting on the same sort of first and third Tuesdays as has been our practice of the month, but that we start at 12:30 rather than 1 o'clock. Is that doable for folks?
Penny?
Yeah, Sully. Is it necessary that we meet every 2 weeks all year long?
Probably,
No.
Probably not.
I tell you, when I have to tell you, when I went on here, I was told, "Oh, you're just going to meet once a month and maybe have some subcommittee work." I'm not being. It sounds like I'm complaining. I guess I am complaining.
We're just listening. It's okay.
The frequency of these meetings to be a lot while working full time.
Understood, and I recognize, acknowledge, and appreciate the sacrifice as one who's also doing it.
No, it's not that. It's just, yeah.
No, but it is. I think the general public needs to understand that there's a lot of work that goes into what we're doing as volunteers. Thank you to the staff for being staff, but there's a lot that happens, and it's a big commitment, and it's been a long one.
I mean, I'm wondering if we could meet every 3 weeks or something like that, instead of twice a month. But
well,
maybe
I think that, you know, we had the pattern leading up to the HPP, some work that we've done now. Hopefully we can ease off the pedal once the HPP is done and come back to a once a month schedule.
But my issue is not, it's not about doing the work and moving forward. It's about the frequency of meetings. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Tucker, with the move, a half an hour earlier, is that because of the time for completion?
She's just trying to preserve a certain window of time, and she assumes, you know, kind of the worst case scenario sort of thing. She doesn't want us to not have enough time. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So it sounds like folks are okay with that move, and, you know, over time we can evaluate maybe going back to once a month, but obviously there's just been a tremendous amount going on. So definitely appreciate everybody's participating in 2 meetings a month.
All right. Close other business unless anybody else has anything else. Public comment. Any of the members of the board as a public participant or Marion have anything they want to say? Seeing none. Board comments. I think we've covered a lot of good stuff today. Thank you. And item 10, executive session. Look for a motion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marion.
Have a good day, guys.
You too.
Thank you.
Brooke, were you raising your hand to read the motion?
Penny unmuted herself, so I'm wondering if she dares.
Well, no, I was just going to ask if you're looking at me.
No. Okay, so here we go. I move that we end the open meeting to go into an executive session, not to return to open meeting, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property where an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
I'll second it.
Great.
By roll call, Rima Sherry.
Aye.
Allison Mitchell.
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella.
Aye.
Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
Ryan Sullivan's an aye. Thank you.
See you on the other side.